Here is a aerospace, which I've seen this brand before. It's a cheap Chinese or import indicator. Usually I see these as a drop indicator, though. This one happens to be a DTI, and believe it or not, it's even got a calibration sticker on it. It's dirty, but it works perfectly. Oddly enough, what I wanted it for, though, was I wanted it for this this holder, this Indicol style. And actually, I thought this was a generic, and it's a genuine Indicol 178. So that's a nice find. So I'll be able to get more money for this holder than I will for that indicator. This rusty bench block, which I didn't look at it too closely. I'm hoping it's going to be a Starrett. All right, so I cleaned this up a little bit on the edges here just to see if I could find a maker's name on it. It's doubtful that it's a Starrett. The Starrett, I think 129 blocks, almost all of them are clearly marked on this lower band, and the band is usually wider to accommodate the large NO129 Starrett logo. So unless this was a much earlier one, but even then I would expect to find something on here. I mean, there could be markings hiding under this heavy corrosion on the top. It's just a nice old bench block. I'll probably offer this up with my current bench block, which is cleaner, but it's a no name. And I'll just keep whichever one somebody doesn't want to buy, I guess. Because I don't mind that this is kind of grungy looking. It's, it's a bench block. So he had 3 or 4 micrometers sitting there that I paid no mind to initially. I wanted nothing to do with them, and then I circled back to this one because I noticed that it's a thread micrometer. It's got the points. So I was like, oh, all right. And then I took a closer look and realized it's an old Mitutoyo. And I was like, oh, okay, that's good. And it's got a ratchet. And I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah. So I decided to put that in the pile, and then I was looking at it and I realized, oh, son of a gun. It's missing the outer sleeve. And this was really loose like this. So somebody had this apart, had this sleeve off for whatever reason, and then lost it. So the problem is you've got no reference line, no reference lines or graduations to see what the hell you're doing here with this thing. So this is now a parts micrometer. But you know what? I didn't, it was included in the deal, so I don't have much money tied up in this. And this is nice. It's got a good working ratchet stop, so if I get a Mitutoyo with a broken one of these, I can take this off of here and I'm in business. Another one of the few indicators I came across. I'm going to stare at last word in this case. Looked like there was more than one at one point because I found this laying there. And then also there's this. It's actually a Mitutoyo in good working condition. But it's weird. It's somebody painted this damn thing with what do you call it there? Like not Dykem, but layout paint. This was calibrated back in 2012, so that'll actually be a nice indicator for somebody. I'll be able to give them a good deal on it. It's a thousandths indicator, 0.0005. Let's see if this last word's any good. I didn't even bother checking it. Well, it was supposed to come out of the same shop or whatever. This was also calibrated in 2012. Oh yeah, and true to its word, it works but is a little sticky. Surprise, surprise. And it reverses direction correctly too. That's nice. So we'll give that a little bit of a cleanup and we'll send that right down the road. Might even be able to find in my pile of spare parts, might even be able to find a couple extra. Now, hold us. What the hell? Get this. A scriber. I wonder what the hell that's doing in there. I don't even remember if I got any squares in this lot. If I do, I'll have to see if it's missing a scriber. So I'm pretty sure one of these should go in here. Got three V blocks total out of this estate. Here's the two that went with this pile, and then I added one in and threw some more money on it, and I'll show you that in a moment because that's a really interesting one. But in the meantime, let's see if this is anything of... Alright, so that's clearly a homemade clamp somebody made for this little V block. And this V block has no markings whatsoever, so we'll put this in our land of misfit V blocks. Oh, that's interesting. This one is clearly marked PPSB 40 by 35 by something. I have actually some larger V blocks by this company. So these are imports, I believe. This stuff on here is not rust, believe it or not. It's some kind of goop. I bet you that'll clean off with some solvent pretty easily. So as ugly as that looks, it's actually a serviceable little V block. It just doesn't have a hell of a lot of value. So I'm sure it was part of a match set originally. Or at least it came in a pair. Maybe not matched, but you know. And the contents here in this box is the last of what was in the initial pile that I got for $220. So this is I believe this is one of the two keyless chucks that I did take. All the other chucks there, like I said, were key chucks, and they were mostly, I think, Jacobs. I don't know how many of them were ball bearing. There was one nice big one there, but I kind of figured, well, I don't have much luck selling those, so I kind of left it. So I initially thought this was a chuck on an R8 shank, but I now realize that it's actually just a straight shank, and it was an R8 Collet. It's interesting. This Collet is branded Fowler. I don't think I've ever seen a Fowler Collet. So I was about to say this is completely unmarked, but now that I've removed it from the Collet, I can clearly see that it's marked right here, Spain. That's the only markings on this. I can tell you right now, in the history of all my tool picking, this is the first Spanish keyless chuck I've ever owned. Matter of fact, this may be the first Spanish chuck I've ever owned. Hell, this might be the first Spanish tool I've ever owned. This is this is interesting to me just because I've never seen one out of Spain. Huh. Yeah, actually seems like decent quality. It's the jaws are perfect on it. This one he initially felt was pretty valuable, so it's funny because initially I left these chucks out, and when I offered him the 200, and then when he wanted 250, I went back and I said, well, you know, if you want to throw in these two chucks, I'd go to the 220, and I think that's how we ended up coming to terms on that. So anyways, he felt this was a valuable one because he said, well, this is a German one. And you know, my first thought was, oh, well, okay. Albrecht? No, it's a Rome. Just spelled R-O-H-M. So Rome is a German manufacturer of keyless chucks. I guess you could call them a competitor of Albrecht, but they're not considered in the same class of chuck as an Albrecht. At least that's my understanding. Maybe you guys have found that not to be the case. But I'll tell you, it's in perfect shape. The jaws are sweet, you know. This thing nice and smooth. This is going to be a nice keyless chuck for somebody for short money. An Enco R8 Collet set. And other than being filthy, it does look like they are all badged Enco. So I think that's actually an original Enco Collet set altogether. A Mitutoyo drop indicator. Works fine, a little dirty, but it works fine. And it's in the original Mitutoyo depth stop type of attachment, which is kind of nice. I've never seen one like this that has such a big locking finger like that, which is kind of nice. And yeah, like I said, it seems to work perfectly fine, just dirty. That should clean up nice though. Another Bridgeport #1 boring head. This one's really clean. This one's quite a bit more used. You can tell just by looking at it. When I first saw this little box, I thought for sure this was going to be a punch set, and it turns out no, it's a little import fly cutter set. Really little. Look how small that is. No names or markings anywhere on it, just a cheap generic little fly cutter set. One of the other items I spotted in the initial photo that made me think it would be worth going out and making the trip if I could buy this right. And this is a Kenrock brand 5C Collet block set. So this is made in Korea, but it's supposed to have the square block, the hex block, the lever operated closer, and then 2 closer nuts. And we've got lever operated closer, 2 closer nuts, the 2 blocks, and a bonus doohickey. Oh my goodness, is that a burr? No, that's a Tommy bar somebody made for these. Hey, you know what? I might steal that and put that in my set. It's not original to this set. Somebody made this. All right, let me clear some of this stuff out of here, and then we'll move on to the next stuff that I bought that I added on to this. I just had to laugh. I just went to go get my Collet block set so I could put this little thing in there. Look what I have. I lost track of what I had kept for myself and what I had sold. The one I kept for myself, same exact set, Kenrock. Oh, and I already have a neat doohickey in here. Okay, alright. So, I think I might sell this one with the... Somebody might actually want one with the cover on it, and I don't really care about the cover. Alright, let me move some of this stuff off of the bench, and then we'll look at some of the other items that I ended up buying after we closed the deal on this. I added on a few items and just kept piling the money on. Next item I picked up was this mag base with a indicator on it. And I need another mag base like I need a hole in the head. But I ended up getting this for $10 for a couple of reasons. First off, this indicator intrigued me. I've never seen one with this name on it. Let me take it off of the holder here. So it says WJZ Gauge and Tool Corp. But the interesting thing is, down here in the lower right corner, it actually says the LS Starrett Company. So this is a Starrett indicator that was badged for that tool company, which I thought was kind of cool. It's sticky a little bit. Other than that, though, it seems to work okay. The other giveaway that it's a Starrett is it says 25-631, and that means that this is a 25 series indicator. And the stand that it's on happens to be a Noga. So it's actually not a bad stand. So that was good for $10. So initially I wanted nothing to do with this plastic box and its contents. And then I was looking at some angle plates he had that were pretty beat up there, and I saw one that caught my eye and intrigued me. And I was like, it's kind of a heavy thing. I know it's going to be too hard to ship, so I'm never going to get around to reselling it. I'm just going to end up having that forever. Do I really need another one? No, not really. But then I kept looking at it, and I was thinking, I just something about it I liked. So finally I just said to him, I said, hey, I tell you what. So would you take $20 for that angle plate and this box of hold downs? So it's interesting. This is a case for a Matco Tools something, I don't know what. Some sort of automotive tool. But what's in here is just a random mishmash of a bunch of hold downs. And initially I didn't want anything to do with it because some of these things are huge. This is James Morton. So I don't know what these big suckers came off of. But then I was looking at it and I was like, oh, well, wait a minute though. Like, there's a good T-nut and bolt. And then there were these funky things. Look at these. They have this neat little deal here. It's like a corkscrew step. It's like a spiral staircase. So that you basically can set these to whatever height, kind of like the way you would do a step block. So there's a pair of these in there. Some good old regular ones like this. And there's also some step blocks in there. Another step block. More T-nuts. Then, look at this. I got a couple of these a while back. These are for quick clamping down. It's good for small items on a drill press, things like that. So I forget who makes these, but I've got a couple of these. They're Can't Twist. So that's made by Can't Twist. You can actually see it's like half of a Can't Twist clamp on this special bracket. Oh, geez, you know, all those Jacob chucks that I passed on. If I had seen these in there, I probably would have just taken them out and given them to them. That's a genuine Jacob's chuck key right there. I'm sure that belongs to one of those chucks. Oh, jeez, there's another one. That's something different. Alright, so look at what we got here. We got a V-block, but it's been welded on to this plate. Gee whiz, is that the match to that other V-block that I had? I already sold that V-block for $5, but I think that's the... No, that's not it. That's a different one. There's no slot in the bottom of this one. Well, I'm glad there's no markings on this, so at least it's not like somebody destroyed a Brown and Sharp or a Starrett. Alright, so I figure I gave 10 for this and 10 for this angle plate that I couldn't live without. So let me show you that. How about that? You ever seen one of these? It's a combination angle plate with a V-block top. 3 sizes of V's too. So he actually thought this might have been something that somebody he knew had made, but I was looking at it and going, no. That's a casting. I kind of doubt somebody cast this in their own shop. So somewhere underneath all of this rust and patina, there may be some identification as to what this is, but I've never seen one like this. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, which is why I decided to go for it. So it's about 5 inches wide. It's about 6 inches this dimension. And just under 6 inches tall. Matter of fact, it looks like it's just under 6 inches this dimension, just under 6 inches tall, and just under 5 inches wide, which makes me think maybe this is metric. Well, I'll try cleaning up that V-block angle plate combination doohickey in the parts cleaner when I get a chance and see if I find any information on it. The next item was he saw that I was interested in the hold downs and stuff, so he said, well, he's got another bucket of them upstairs. So we went upstairs and I started looking through the bucket here, and I spotted, you know, this machinist jack and stuff, and so he sold me this bucket for $10. So I'm going to take a moment here and just go through it, kind of see what's in there, see if there's any goodies in the bottom of this thing besides the angle, besides the machinist jacks, which I can see. I'll see that's not a, what that is. It looks like maybe a homemade, some sort of a homemade jack. There's some pretty heavy duty large hold downs in this box, in this bucket. Look at these. Vulcan. That's probably for a press or something, right? These are more like normal sizes. Quite a few of these in there. There's quite a few of these integrated T-nuts and studs. They look a little small though for my milling machine. Well, they'll work. They're a little loose, but they're more for rotary tables, I think, or something like that. Some hold down nuts. These might even belong to that set that I showed at the beginning of this video. Same thing with some of these T-nuts. at these step blocks, how wide they are. And luckily I found 2 mating pieces, so that's actually a set. I found these 2 aluminum ones. Teeth are much, so just could use these 2 together for height. Here's one marked right on the side, the maker's name. That might belong to that set. Oh, I didn't think it was missing one. Here's a plastic one. This much more stuff down in there, but I'm not going to bore you guys with that. So here's a real nice surprise that I found when I went out to this pick. When I was in the garage, I saw this on the bench. And this is exactly how it looked. It wasn't bolted down or anything. It was just sitting on top of the bench. And I says, "Oh, nice Wilton vise." And he said, "Yeah." And I asked him about it, and he said, "Yeah." He says, actually, he says he can't even remember where he got this. His recollection is that he got it out of one of the properties he owns. That he had several, I guess, rental properties, and he thinks that he might have pulled this out of the basement out of one of those houses. So it was just sitting there, and he hadn't even gotten around to bolting it down to his bench to use it. He had another vise, I guess. So I was thinking to myself, boy, that's a pretty nice vise. So after I had bought a couple other items, I said to him as I was leaving, I said, "Hey, if you ever decide you want to sell that vise, give me a call. You got my number." And he said, "Well, if you want to make an offer on it right now." So I looked it over, and I was like, well, you know, it's rusted, but it's a Wilton bullet, you know, which is, guys go crazy for these. And it's stuck pretty gun, you know, it's not frozen solid, but it's pretty stuck. So it's going to need a little bit of love, but nothing I can't handle. So I said, "Would you take $50 for it?" And he said, "Sure." So I got myself a Wilton bullet vise for $50. It isn't pretty now, but I think I can spruce it up and do a little bit of lube on this thing and turn it into a pretty nice vise here for the shop. Jaws, that's a 4-inch, which is a nice size. The reality is, because for whatever reason, I know the reason. It's a very good design. It's a very strong vise. But guys go crazy over these, and the prices get pretty crazy once they're cleaned up. So I might have a hard time holding on to this, only because I have, I have a clone of one of these that works perfectly fine for me. And if I tried to sell that clone, I'd be hard pressed to get $40 or $50 for it. So it comes down to a matter of, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to keep my clone and sell this and immediately make money on it, which is tempting, or would that be foolish because I may never see another one of these? And those of you guys who watch my channel regularly, don't forget, I've still got that big Walworth vise that was made in Boston, Massachusetts. And I've got that massive Vanderman steam pipe fitters vise that was made down in Connecticut back in the 1800s. Matter of fact, both those vices were probably 1800s. So those vices aren't as desirable because they are what are called open screw design, where you can actually see the threaded screw. So they don't command the kind of money that like the Charles Parkers, the Reeds, the Athol, the Sterretts, and of course the Wilton bullets. But anyways, regardless of what I end up deciding to do with this, I certainly was glad to get this. That really made my day. And for those of you guys who might be wondering, the model number is right here on the back jaw, right below the back jaw here. It's a 10-10-28. As far as the age of this goes, the nice thing about these Wilton bullet vices is that Wilton had a 5-year warranty on these vices. So what they did was they stamped a date code on the bottom guide rail. So there we go. Actually, this is not as stuck as I thought. This is getting a lot smoother now. Okay, that's good. Cool beans. Anyway, so we're going to open this up all the way so we can get a look at that date code. So on the bottom here, you know, it's a round ram, right? So there's a metal bar on here that is a guide rail so that this jaw doesn't turn. Oh, it was just hidden by the grease. Turns out it's right there. So that right there, it's stamped 171. The last two digits are the year, and the first digit is the month. So this vise was manufactured in January of, not 71, that's the expiration date. You subtract 5 years from that. So that makes that what? 66. 1966. Holy cow. This was manufactured the year I was born. Well, I think that's a sign right there. I probably have to keep this vise now, right? Looks like there might even be a little bit of evidence left as to what color this was originally. Looks like that industrial gray by the looks of it. Although that might be just primer. Because I see green. Unless it was painted again at some point in its life. I don't know what originally these were, what color these were painted. And the jaws actually look like they're in pretty darn good shape. I don't know if these have been changed or not. There's actually a guy online on eBay selling brand new jaws for these. I don't know if they're brand new Wilton or if he's just making reproduction ones. But these jaws are smooth. There's no serrations on them for helping the grip. And the only other pet peeve I have about this vise is that there are no pipe jaws for round objects down here in this area. But, you know, guess I shouldn't nitpick. Well, guys, I cleaned this up in the parts cleaner, and I can't find any markings on it. There might still be something under some of this patina, but it's starting to look to me like this isn't marked. I am seeing now that this was black paint, that it had a black coating on the non-working parts. I still think that this was, you know, not cast in somebody's home shop. But it does look like there was a problem with this casting. There's an area right here that is really porous. I think those are voids in the casting that didn't show themselves until this was machined. So you can see that right there. It doesn't look like damage. You know, it's not the kind of thing where it looks like somebody damaged it. It looks like more like those voids were there and they got exposed as this was milled out. There was even a question of, well, whether or not this was actually started out as a big plate, and that then they decided to mill this out later. But you can see that this was by design. It was made this way because the reason why this angles up like that is because it's got to be thicker here than here for the larger V groove. Well, all right, so that's going to be it for this episode. I think we're going to have one more video from this estate. My plan is I've already made arrangements to go back there, pick up a couple other interesting items. And that might have to be an odds and sods or something because there's not a lot left there. So we'll probably do that in a couple of weeks. And I've also got another estate I just picked up while I was working on this video. So that's probably going to be the next one that's going to be coming up. That's going to be a pick from Rhode Island. So I hope you guys enjoyed these videos. If you do, please hit the like button. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. Take care.